We had a phenomenal weekend for comedy here in Tampa Bay as the debut of the Sunshine Comedy Festival happened, and it was awesome. Those guys put on a great job. There were shows all over Tampa Bay. Luckily for us, Tampa's become like a mecca for comedy, and tonight at Side Splitters is our old friend Cletus T. Judd, who is in the studio with us. It's great to see you, buddy.
Buddy, it's good to be back. Thank you very much for having me. Dude, I was driving in this morning, coming from Orlando, and I've been to rock concerts, Kid Rock, Kiss, Def Leppard, you name it, and I've never heard an opener better than this opener. Oh, dude, I wanted to get out of the car and salute somebody. It's like, I'm on my way there right now.
You know what's so funny is that Cletus, it's so funny you bring that up is because I look at the people in my career who were negative about me, and they're all gone. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like they're all gone.
Yeah.
And I think it was this morning I was sitting here as the intro was playing. There's a guy named Rich Reese, not a bad guy.
Mm-hmm.
He was like an area manager, but he was out of Orlando. And when we started with that intro, he called my general manager and he said, "It's too long. I don't like it."
No.
And he goes, "What do you mean?" He goes, "It doesn't. It's stopping." And my general manager thankfully had the common sense to say, "Listen, it's the way I see it. It's kind of like a hey, the show's on. Everybody kind of wake up and get going." Yeah. And he was like, "Okay." He goes, "It's just that guy's gone. We're doing okay." So he retired.
Awesome,
he didn't do bad. I'm just saying, it's like you get to a mentality where you don't think the right way anymore. It's time to maybe put those guys to rest.
Oh, I've had several of those in my career along the way.
Sure you have.
Been fired a couple of times, and it's all good.
Now, if we can, I would like to start by talking about my first experience with you, first, which I guarantee you don't remember, but you can help me fill in some of the blanks here. Now, here I am. I work for a country radio station with a guy named A.W. Do you remember him at all? A.W. was in Montana, and they brought him in here, and they made a Q105 a country station. Mm-hmm. It was A.W., me, and a lady named Carmen, not our Carmen. By the way, our Carmen's back at the station, so when you hear the headphones, you don't freak out. Yeah. And we were on this morning show together, and I just did not fit in. I'm still barely out of New York. I know nothing about country music, and nor do I care to learn about it. Right. Mm-hmm. So I'm in the studio with a guy who I genuinely like as a human being, but see no future in the show. I'm just in a stuck spot. But I learned so much about the country business. Yeah. And I love the country artist. I have never seen, having worked in rock and top 40, I've never seen people more interested in working for their success than country artists. Yeah. They will come to your birthday party. They will do luncheons. They will call your show every day. They're like, I want to be there to help promote my own bit. Like, it's the smartest way to be. Yeah. So they do these things every year. They do the CMA awards and the other awards, but they did this one thing where, and I don't even know what, I think it was the Fan Fest in Nashville.
Yeah, absolutely.
And they brought us to a recording studio somewhere, maybe very famous, I don't know, but it was a recording studio in a building, and like 5 or 6 radio stations.
Yeah, you make your rounds right there.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that was my first time really in the I was up in the upstairs level. Yeah. They had breakfast, so I was getting a little bagel, and I said, I have seen the most beautiful woman I've ever seen in my life, and it was that woman who turned out to be gay, who is Shelly Wright.
Shelly Wright. Yeah.
She was
smoking hot.
Oh my God.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And then I went downstairs, did all my interviews and all that, and then later on I went upstairs, and you came bursting in the door like Kramer. Uh-oh. No, it wasn't bad. You were. I didn't know who you were then.
You and a lot of other people too. You weren't the only one.
But you had the glasses, and the hair, and the whole day, and you came busting through the door, and I'm like, who is this guy louder than me in this place? But I saw all the country artists flock to you, and one of them was Ronnie from Brooks and Dunn.
Oh, Ronnie Dunn. Yeah,
and he was all over you, and I was like, whoever this guy is, these guys love this guy. And then I asked, and they're like, oh, that's Cletus. He does songs, he does comedy, he does blah, blah, blah. And I went, that's great. And then over the years, as I worked on the country station, I started playing your songs. That was the I Love NASCAR.
I Love NASCAR. That got Mom a single wide trailer right there. that was a good one.
I mean, I was I Love This Bar, a parody of I Love This Bar, and it was I Love NASCAR, and people loved it. They lost their minds over it, and I would play it, and I'd be like, oh yeah, let's go. And the next day, everybody's like, play that song again, play that song again. Did you make good money off of those songs, or is there not money to be made on parody
in the
songs?
parody world? No. And I tell you a funny story about I Love This Bar and I Love NASCAR. Toby called me when he had written that, and we were on the cell phone. He's like, "Man, I got to play something. I'm sitting on the bus, and he starts playing, "I love this bar. It's my kind of place." And he went through this whole verse and chorus, gets to the next verse. And he's like, "Man, what do you think about it?" And I said, "I like mine a lot better." And he said, "What do you mean yours a lot better?" I said, "I'm sitting here writing the parody as you're going down through there." And I wrote, "I love this. I love NASCAR." And that was a big one. But no, in the parody world, the publishers and the original writers make all the money.
Yeah, that's why I thought.
Yeah, because they own the copyright. Used to you had to get permission. You go to the publishers, you have to beg and ask. And the only person that ever turned me down, ever in the entire music, and I've done probably 12 or 14 albums, hundreds of videos or whatever, was Garth.
I was gonna say, was it Garth?
Of all people, Garth. I was at a golf tournament, and he comes up to me and he says, "Hey, aren't you Cletus?" And I said, "Yeah." I was enamored to meet him for the first time. He's like, "Man, I'm not a big fan."
Wow! Went out of his way to.
Yeah, how's a kid? But he said, "My kids love you."
Oh.
And so that kind of broke the ice.
Yeah, that's okay.
And he said, "Man, the song we did, he had one, him and Trisha did one called In Another's Eyes, which was a duet. And of course, I did one called You Need Another Size." And he said, "Man, that song's up." Yeah, well, yeah. I didn't say that at the time, but he said it's up for a Grammy, and we really don't want to put anything out on top of it, and just can you wait a little? I'm thinking, man, you done sold more records than the damn Beatles, and you worried about some little parody act going to knock you out of a Grammy. I'm not making near enough money in this business. So I did the song anyway, and he still won the Grammy, and we've been friends ever since. So
a Grammy, like he cares about that.
Oh, he could care less. Yeah. But man, you were talking about Ronnie Dunn. I tell you the best story on Brooks and Dunn. I was on an Amtrak train because I don't like to fly. I was on a bad flight coming out of Orlando one time and got my nose broke. And
how was it, a big plane or a private
plane? Big plane.
When it drop?
I was actually flying out of Kansas City to Orlando, and I'd been out with Kenny Chesney that weekend with him. And it was a beautiful day outside. It was like on a Sunday morning. There was a big festival in Orlando we were doing. 737 plane, 3 on one side, 3 on the other. We get up 30,000 feet. I tell my road manager, T-Bone, I say, "I'm going to go back in the back of the plane, get some rest, and get ready to do the show." And that's back when you got a pillow and a blanket, back in the cool days. And I go back and lay down in the very last row of the plane. I put my head against the window. I'm just looking at a beautiful day, sunny skies, blue skies. 10 minutes after I laid down, I pulled the shade to, I was stuck to the luggage racks.
Wow.
I mean, literally, I went from laying with my head to the window, completely inverted, and landed in the aisle of the plane.
Holy cow.
And I'll never forget this. I mean, if you didn't have your seatbelt on at the time, you weren't in your same seat. It was that violent. And I'll never forget the stewardess was back there going, "Sir, can you please get in your seat?" I'm like, no kidding. I'm doing my damnedest. I promise I'm trying. And when I stood up in the plane, I finally got sit down in the other side in a center seat, and man, as soon as I was trying to put my seatbelt on, and as we hit more turbulence, and my face hit that tray table in front of me, and my face exploded like Tyson hit me right in the nut. Blood went everywhere. I mean, it was horrible. And the next thing I remember, dude, I'm telling you, Mike, God is my witness. That plane went up on it went vertical, and I was looking out the other window where I was just at about 3 seconds ago. And the plane just started free falling. No, nobody was saying a word. All you could hear was air. It was just. And I thought, okay. All I could think about was a purple bicycle I got when I was 4 years old. I have no idea.
That popped in your head.
That popped in my head, and I thought, this is my destiny. I'm dying in a plane crash.
Yeah.
And there was nobody saying anything. And eventually the pilot pulled out of it, and we landed in Orlando.
Like, finally, I'll be respected as a musician when I die like Buddy
Holly. Oh, yeah. This will be my destiny right here. And I told that steward, I said, the best thing them pilots can do is not come out of there.
Yeah.
They're going to tote an ass whooping if they do. This has been the worst. And man, it cost me, honestly, I would say over the course of my career, millions of dollars.
From that flying.
From that, yeah. I mean, I took Amtrak. I just never would get on that.
But don't you know that just the odds of them never happening again?
Listen, hey, I've been through counseling, therapy, hypnotist, you name it. I had a showcase to do in Anaheim, California at the Improv. I did a show in Nashville, and this company, Levity, said, man, we'd love to get you to come out to LA, showcase for us, maybe do something out there.
That's a big company.
Look here, dude. Yeah, you know who they are. I drove from Nashville, Tennessee with a buddy of mine, Monty. We drove 3 days to Anaheim, California, got out of the car, went on stage and did 9 minutes and drove back. Didn't get the party.
I thought you were going to say you took your purple bike everywhere.
You've not flown one time since then?
I did. When I was at Celebrity Fit Club, they brought in this hypnotist from Germany or something. It was trying to get me over that fear. And if you ever watch the last episode of that on VH1, they do this thing where they put you in these awkward positions, and they said, well, we're just going to take you down to LAX and let you look around and get the feel of the airport. I'm like, I'd be glad to go, but I ain't flying. So we get there, and we're sitting in the terminal, and there's a big 737 Southwest jet sitting out there, and they said, well, what do you think about maybe walking on the plane? No, there's nobody on it. Nobody on it. Just walk down the aisle and check it out. I said, look, I'll tell you, I'll be glad to walk on it, but I ain't flying. We get on the plane, and I'm sitting in the front seat. Stacy, my therapist, is right there, and she's telling me all this stuff. And the next thing you know, these people are starting to get on the plane. I'm like, I'm telling y'all, I'm fixing to knock every wind in this thing out. I'm not going anywhere off the ground. And all of a sudden, she hits me with, well, what if I tell you that your daughter, who was 2 at the time, is wanting to see her daddy, and she's waiting on him in Phoenix?
Oh, they really got you good there.
And dude, I start squalling like a 4-year-old. And I said, first of all, my daughter isn't in Phoenix. I just talked to her and her mom this morning. They were in Kentucky. And she said, no, Cletus, Caitlin and Julie are in Phoenix, and Caitlin is wanting to see her daddy.
And how long was that from where you were?
About 50 minutes.
Okay.
Flight-wise.
So not so bad. No. By the way, I followed Cletus on Facebook. We've been friends for years.
Yeah.
I've watched your daughter grow up. You're super dad. So
and I try really hard, but in that position, you know, I didn't know what to do because, man, just knowing that she was there, and I told her, I said, well, if my daughter is in Phoenix, then take my ass to Phoenix.
Wow.
And you have never in your life saw a plane back out of a tarmac as fast as that one
they're
did.
Not waiting for anybody to say no. Yeah.
They wouldn't let people sit down. They knew that I would change my mind at any minute. And we flew to Phoenix. Got off the plane.
How bad was it taking off? Were your flashbacks?
It was just a disaster.
Oh,
and
really?
I was just sitting in your lobby out here watching turbulent planes with turbulence just a minute ago. Still
on what? Like on your phone?
Oh yeah.
Oh, so you can't get past it.
No, it's brutal. It's horrible. I just drove here. All my buddies flew from West Virginia to Champions Gate to Orlando. And they got here before I ever got out of West Virginia.
Oh,
and I'm thinking, oh, here we go. Yeah. I should have flew.
You're the John Madden of comedy.
Yeah, dude.
That's horribly inconvenient, but I get it.
It's
if
hard,
you've had that experience.
Until you've been through one that bad, you know, I mean, a little bounce here and there, whatever's not that big a deal. But when you get the heck beat out of you, nose busted, the whole 9 yards, and that's how I got the Brooks and Dunn tour, believe it or not. I was on an Amtrak train going to California. From Nashville, actually from Memphis, and I sat down and wrote Ronnie Dunn a letter. And when we got to somewhere we stopped, I faxed it to his. Back when we had fax, I faxed it to his manager, Clarence, and I said, "Hey, man, you know I'm Cletus. Y'all been great to me. I'd love to do the tour with you. I'll do it for free if you'll just put me on the show and let me host the whole thing. I'll do it for free." And by the time I got back to California, I had a fax machine in my fax copy in my room that said, if you're willing to work for free for this tour, then we're going to be willing to pay you. And Ronnie Dunn had sent me a letter, and they put me on the tour for 3 years.
Wow. That's great.
Yeah, it was a good deal.
Those guys are, I don't know any.
First class. It never worked for anybody no better than Kix and Ronnie, period.
One of my first times broadcasting from Las Vegas. What is that? The CMA Awards?
Yeah, that's ACM.
ACM Awards.
Yeah,
Awards. I'm at a hotel, and you know, same thing. They're bringing everybody by. First of all, this is the best. They come over and they go, "Hey, listen, we don't want you to turn any guests down. You can tape it and never use the interview. We don't want to turn it." And I was like, "Yeah, okay, whatever."
Yeah, we'll do Cletus that way. Yeah, get him in there.
And the first thing they bring me over is this Asian man in a cowboy hat. And they don't give me any context. I have no idea what's going on. And the guy just hands me his card. Charlie Nakatami.
He didn't make it. Yeah, I don't remember.
No. He is a huge country promoter from Japan.
Oh, okay.
And he was bringing artists over to Japan, and I'm like, why do I want to talk? But also they give me this guy and they don't tell me who he is. So now I'm just looking at a guy who barely speaks English at a country that I'm like, but Kix Brooks comes in and he sits down. He's the little one, right?
Yeah.
And he sits down and I go, so we're recording, but we're live recording. So I go, so what do? You and Ronnie get up and flip a coin and says, who has to do the stupid radio interviews this morning? And he started laughing. He goes, no. He goes, Ronnie and his wife, they're actually their wedding anniversary. And I told him he could have the day off and he could hang out with his wife. And I go, how long they've been married? And he's like, oh, like 20 something years. And I go, well, big deal. I go, it's not like they're going to have sex today on their marriage. I go, she's definitely not giving him oral. And he sits back and he goes, are we on the radio right now?
Yeah, we are.
Country artists have never had anything like if I was smart and I would have listened to the Yoda of radio, Mike Calta, and just tuned it down a little bit, I probably could have been huge in the country radio area because I was the only one at the time where they were shifting the music. It was going a little bit less Garth and a little bit more Big and Rich. If I had just listened to Calta a little more, I probably would have had a really good future.
Yeah, but dude, that anytime you have to shift it down,
true,
that's not who you are, and then you got to live with that and deal with that. And trust me, I've had that happen as well. Calta was the only one that never done that to me.
Yeah.
And he is when I was at QYK, by far the best experience radio wise I'd ever had. I came here and
was that your first full-time gig?
Yeah. It was 2005 when I came here, and myself, Steve Austin, friend of yours, Chad Brock, and Rita Ciccarello, and man,
boy, where's that creature?
I have no clue.
I have never seen. If you want to, I have never worked with her like directly, so I can't tell you a good thing or a bad thing. Only what my observations are. I have never seen radio people more afraid of firing a woman than that woman because she had been there for 100 years. Yeah. She brought nothing and nobody liked her and she didn't like anybody else. I don't know how she was on your show, but I remember when Skip was there, he hated her and nobody could do anything because they couldn't get rid of her. And so now I hate her because I don't know her, but I hear all these guys hate her. And one day she walks in just out of the blue, like Costanza one day walks in with a wig on. And I go, like a bowl-headed wig that was totally different. And she was walking on the hall, and I go, what's the wig? And everybody's like, we don't know what we can say. What we can't say. We can't make money.
I never had, Rita was good at what she did. Yeah. I won her over by farting a lot. And I'd walk by her and just it. And she would laugh. But no trouble there. But it was the best time ever. But like I was telling you, it was bittersweet because, man, I was so far from home.
Yeah.
My daughter was in Kentucky just getting life started. And I'd been here about, I guess, Mike, probably a year and a half or so. And Calta walked in on a
well, let me give everybody some context. Mike Calta is the guy who ran the CBS Infinity radio here in Tampa. I worked over there at the sports station, and he was one of the few people that said, this guy needs to be doing something else, and worked to get me a better job while I was over there. And then when Skip Mahaffey left that station because he didn't realize he was not the star, he was part of a machine.
Right.
When he left, you have a huge void to fill. And I went, I don't know what they're going to. And when Mike Calta thought, I'm going to bring in Cletus and Chad Brock, you got two country stars, two national guys now being put together on a local show. It was one of the most brilliant things I've ever heard.
It was really good. And we always said Chad Brock was the worst radio guy in the world.
Yeah.
We would not give Chad his spots, live spots until 5 seconds before he's supposed to read them. He'd butcher them, give out the wrong interest rate, the car dealerships. But you know what? This town loved him.
Yeah.
He was and I said, just shut up and play the bass, Chad. You ain't got to be the star. People loved you. But working with Calta, man, after that year and a half that I was here and I was traveling back and forth, driving because I didn't fly to see my kid. And Mike on a Friday afternoon, I've never really told the story a ton, but Mike walked in and on a Friday after the show and he said, hey man, take this envelope home, check it out and see what you think. Ratings were great.
Yeah.
We were killing it. Bonuses, it was just insane. And so I went and played golf at Feather Sound that day, got home that evening, and I opened up this envelope and I'm reading it and it's like this contract and I'm reading more and more. And then I get down to these numbers and it was like 5 years. I'm like, oh, that's a long time. $2 million. I went, oh, let me reread that again. I've just been offered a 5-year deal, with everything included in excess of $2 million. And I start screaming and yelling. I'm thinking I'm rich. Oh, dear God, I've done it. I called my buddies down in Georgia. I said, fly down. We fixing to get it on for the weekend. Well, they all came down. I stayed in my house. I had a house. I just bought a house in Feather Sound. And then all them guys went home. And I was left by myself in this big monstrosity of a house, looking at pictures of my daughter on the fireplace and a bedroom that she had never been in, and started counting on my fingers. Okay, if I take this 5-year deal, I'm going to miss first grade. I'm going to miss part of second grade, third grade, but I will be getting back around the fourth grade. And
you got to really consider that stuff.
Dude. And I would lay in my bed at night. Honest to God, I know it's not funny, but I'll never forget as long as I live. I'd lay in my bed at night and I say, God, look, I got a couple hundred G's over here in this account. And here's what I'm willing to do. I'll give it to the homeless shelter. I'll give it to the church or whatever. If there's any way you can get them to move that daddy-daughter dance back about a month so I can make it home. Well, all the money I had never bought me any of that stuff back. You can't buy memories. Once they're gone, they're gone. When they grow up, they're gone. And so I took that envelope that morning before I went into work, and I wrote on the outside of it, Dear Caitlin, you're worth more than what's inside this envelope. And I signed it and dated it, and I put it in her hope chest, and that's where it sits today. And when she turned 17, I showed it to her. And she says, damn, Dad, we could have worked something out.
Idiot.
Yeah. Man, I'm in a Chrysler 200 E, and I could have been in a Beamer or something. Are you kidding me? But, man, it was...
listen, she's a 17-year-old girl. You don't want her to be a stripper. You want her to love her father, and you want her to have her know that she's been loved since the day she was born.
And if I would have flown... it would have been easier, but still, and then when I left, I went to Atlanta.
Can you imagine how burnt out you would be having to drive back and forth?
It about killed me, dude. I'm telling you right now, I can't drive to the gas station, and I get out and my left hip hurts from the hundreds of thousands. My buddies used to say, man, I don't know how you do it. How in the world do you do that much driving? I drove from Georgia to Kentucky. It was 414 miles. Trust me, I know. And took Caitlin bowling for one game, ate a hamburger and a drink at the bowling alley, took her back to school, and drove back home.
That's great.
Because I just needed that little bit of fix, because of the guilt, man, and I mean, I've still never overcome the guilt. Eat up with it.
Do you not, how is your relationship with her mother?
Oh, great, man. We're great friends.
I was like, no issue would have moved or anything.
I got my wife, I got a great wife now, gets along with her, and I get along with my stepkids. It's a great situation. But then I went to Atlanta and worked for iHeart in Atlanta doing the Bull down there. They kept me 9 months and fired me. And I thought, man, how bad of a morning guy do you got to be to get fired and still get paid another year?
Oh, I've been there.
For doing nothing. I mean, I went on tour Rascal Flats. I was double dipping, man. I mean, it was, and then Florida brought me back down here. I worked with the late Dave McKay, and Veronica.
Of course.
And then that's when I finally said, okay, it's time. I can't do it no more.
Yeah.
I don't care if I got to work a mission. I'm going to West Virginia and be a daddy.
You really, I remember before I had kids, everybody would say to me, you don't know how much you're going to love your kid. I'm like, I get it. I'm going to love my kid. And then you have kids and you're like, oh, now I get it.
Garth was a prime example of that. And I talked to him about that. And I said, man, when I heard that you were retiring and you said you weren't going to do anything else until you had kids, that was late 90s, early 2000s, or whenever he did that. And I said, man, and when Caitlin came along, I get it.
Yeah.
I totally get he was at the top of his game.
Yeah.
You're talking money, fame. And he said it was just never an option that I was never going to miss.
A lot easier to do with $100 million.
You got it. Yeah. A little bit tougher in my position.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, you think about though, now that she's 17, going to be 18, you did the right thing. And you did, at least she knows that you did everything you could to spend the most time with her and make the right decisions. I mean, that's all you can ask for.
Yeah, now she won't text me back. It pisses me off.
Oh, dude, they all turn into dicks.
I'm telling you, the minute they get the phone and they get the car, it's over.
Yeah.
Unless they need gas money.
Right.
And then they going, you should have took the $2 million. That's what you should have done. You're giving me a gas card here. We needed the $2 million.
I tell you, the daughters are worse. I have a 11-year-old daughter, and she said to me one time in the most serious way, she said, I think that I want to be, her and I have a great relationship. She curses, but only in front of me. You know?
Yeah.
So she says to me, I think I want to be a teacher when I get older. And I go, Juliana, and she goes, I know what you're going to say. Teachers are underappreciated and they don't make enough money. I go, they don't make anything. And she goes, but I heard my teacher say the other day that she made $500 a week. And in 2 weeks, that's $1,000. And I go, Juliana, Daddy makes $1,000 an hour.
Yeah.
I'm obviously making up numbers. And
no, he's not. No, he's not. Shut up.
It's way more than that. And Juliana looks down, like perplexed, like the fact that she was trying to figure out the math. And then she looks up at me in all seriousness and she goes, then why the F don't we have an RV?
An RV.
And I went, is that the standard for success with you is an RV? I'm like, okay.
Oh, that is too funny.
Yes.
Man, I have a stepdaughter too who's 19, Isabella. And the funniest story in history, she'll kill me. She's probably listening right now. But they did drug testing in high school. And I think she was in the 9th grade. And so she had never had, pee in a cup or nothing,
right.
So they say, okay, you go in the bathroom, you pee in a cup, sit on the back of the toilet when you're done, and then we'll handle it from there. So she goes in there, and an hour later, they're looking for Isabella. They can't find her. The principal's looking. Isabella, please come to the office. They can't find her anywhere. So one of the counselors goes into the bathroom and opens up the stall, and Isabella's sitting on the back of the toilet.
Whoa.
And they said, well, what are you doing? She said, y'all said when I got done, sit on the back of the toilet. So hell, she didn't know that meant sit the pee on the back of the toilet. So she got her legs propped up, just hanging out. She said, do as I was told.
Just waiting for you guys to
just
come
waiting for you
get
guys.
me.
Where y'all been? Where y'all been?
I don't know.
Yeah, it was pretty funny.
Cletus T. Judd is here, and Cletus is going to be now. What is your relationship like with Winona Judd?
Man, Winona is a dear friend, man. She really is. I've got text messages on this phone that I wouldn't. It's a love-hate relationship.
Okay.
I've got them where she's cussed me like a dog. I had a song that Brantley Gilbert cut a few years ago called 3 Feet of Water that went gold that I had pitched to Winona originally, but she never got back with me.
Right.
So Brantley cut it, and boy, she lost her mind. I won't even show you the text
You
messages.
wrote the song and Brantley Gilbert cut it and it went gold?
Yeah.
Well, you should make some good money
Yeah,
off of that.
it went gold. I had I've had some good cuts. I had Rascal Flatts cut. Gary LaVox's last single, who's the lead singer, Rascal Flatts.
I was wondering that because if you're doing parody songs and you're doing well at those, that you got to have an inclination to be able to write songs.
Man, I love writing serious stuff just about more than anything.
Really?
Radio is my passion. I love it. Unfortunately, I hadn't done it in a couple of years. I had to sit out a non-compete, and then it was really funny. This is the best story on Mike right here. So I had a talent person call me from Cox. They were a talent acquisition person, or something when I was sitting in my house, and they're like, yeah, we're with Cox Radio, and we saw your resume, and we heard your air checks, and they start talking all this stuff, and I immediately go to him. I'm like, oh, I got a great friend works down in Tampa, Mike Calta. Mike Calta Show. It's huge. And she's like, no, I'm not familiar with that one, but we'll.
100%. No one knows me less than this company. I guarantee you. I'll tell you, I don't have a poetic bone in my body. If you gave me $1 million in cash and said write a nice song,
I don't believe that. I should challenge him. All you gotta do is write a poem. All you gotta do is write a poem.
I don't. It's just weird. There's just things I know I'm good at and I'm not good at. I come up with
guarantee
ideas.
Nantucket would be in there.
Yeah, I can come up with ideas. I'll give you a suggestion, but when it comes down, I'm just not good at that kind of stuff. So to think that you can do that on top of being as silly as you can be, and then also write a serious song, and that's where the money. I've never seen a machine work like Nashville before. There's the writers, there's the publishers, there's the
it's a little
artists.
complicated, and it's not as much as it used to be. I mean, if you wrote "Achy Breaky Heart," when Don Von Tress wrote that, he never had to come up with another idea ever. He never had to strum another chord. All he had to do was go to the mailbox every month.
Well, look at those Warren brothers.
Oh, Brad, yeah, it's unbelievable, all the cuts.
There is a great documentary on Netflix. I forget what it was called, but it was all the songwriters, not the people that cut it, but it was the songwriters.
Oh, it's insane.
And they were like, I have the biggest house out of anybody you never heard of before. You know what I mean?
And,
all these
and
guys.
royalties are usually life plus 80. So you can imagine, I think Scotty Emmerich had 7 or 8 cuts on Toby's big record with Beer for My Horses and all that. You don't want to know. You don't know what 7 number ones. Yeah, you don't want to know what that check was for.
I introduced the Warren brothers. They came and played a tailgate party here.
They're bad boys.
I love those guys.
Oh,
well, they're from here, so I knew them when they were a little hair band.
Yeah.
But I introduced them on stage, and I go, "These guys are great. They got some top 10 hits," and they were like, some top 10 hits. We had like 12 number ones. I was like, oh, my bad. If you would have said he's pretty good in radio, I would get it. I understand what I love those guys. I really do.
When I wrote, and I tell you, the way the big one with Brantley came, I got baptized in the church where Caitlin used to go. We still go to church, Christ Temple in West Virginia. And man, this is weird, but right as I was getting ready to go in, right before I jumped in that water, everything that I had ever done bad in my life, I'm a recovering addict of 19 years. I support drug addict recovery like with a vengeance.
Sure.
And right before I went into this water, everything I'd ever done bad, it was almost like a Quentin Tarantino movie. It was all black and white pops of, the abuse and the drugs and the women and the this. It was just all bad. The money that I'd made and blowed and spent and the dope and the meth. And it was like, oh my God. I was like about to have, and then all of a sudden it just stopped.
Yeah.
And I thought to myself, I'm fixing to leave all that in 3 feet of water.
Yeah.
So I jumped in and I came out the other side a different person. But before I went in there, I thought 3 feet of water. And then I wrote that with Brantley and Jeremy Bussey and Jace Hine, and Brantley cut it. But that's where those ideas, come from.
Sure.
And, you just have to write them down.
I get it. I just, I'm sure there's been those moments and times where I might have been inspired at some point, but I never actually.
Yeah, because you're pretty prolific. I don't know if anybody's ever told y'all. Don't tell him that. Do you?
No,
I apologize.
Meth, huh? You were doing meth.
Yeah, man. It
was
bad.
What was the highest level of success you had while you were still doing drugs? Like, did I know you while you were?
No, you missed it by a year. And I'll tell you why. I was a hairdresser, for many, many years.
Right.
Barber, traveled all over the world doing it, world championships of hairdressing. I mean, I've always been an overachieving underdog is what I tell people. I never had as much talent as most, but I'd outwork you. I'd figure out a way to win. And I swore I would never. My dad was a raging alcoholic. I swore I'd never do dope. Drinking was never an issue for me. Still could care less. But one afternoon, 1987, a guy gave me some crystal meth. I said, I ain't snorting nothing up my nose. That's the grossest thing I've ever heard. And he said, here, let me just put a little in your coffee, and you'll be fine. And boy, was he right.
Does Starbucks have that?
No, yeah. You can buy it now legally, but he put that stuff in some coffee, and I drank it. It was on Friday afternoon, and about 20 minutes later, I thought, okay, I found what I've been looking for my whole life.
What was the feeling
like? They ain't no vernacular that'll cover it. It was the most euphoric, to the point where I left out of there in a Honda CRX. Brand new Honda CRX. I was going down 75, got in a traffic jam of all things, high as a kite, sitting still, and I roll my windows down, and I'm talking to people that I don't even know. Those are the coolest wheels I've ever seen. Where'd you get those? Love the paint scheme on that. That thing is amazing.
I know.
So 3 days later, with no sleep, start seeing the doorknobs turning and all this weird stuff. And I said, I'll never do this again until I did it again.
Yeah.
And the next thing you know, I become an addict. I call it dust off the devil's coffee table because it's an horrific drug. And then the cocaine came into the picture, and I was using really heavy. And then 1999, I had heart surgery.
Oh, geez.
But from an addict standpoint, my mentality was, you would think a normal person go, thank God I lived through it. Oh, thank you, Jesus, I made it. My mentality was, hell, I'm fixed now.
Now you can
Let's
start
crank
over.
it up a notch. Let's go. So I did. And the moral of this story, 2004, September 11th, 2004, I was in Vanderbilt Hospital. Caitlin was fixing to make her rare public appearance because Julie was having her that night. I had $1,500 of cash in one pocket and probably $3 grand worth of cocaine in the other. It was about 2:00 in the morning. Caitlin was born, and that's a big thing for anybody to go through, and she was born, and I thought, okay, I got to go use. I need a break, I got to get my nerves right, about what's about to come. So I go in this bathroom in Vanderbilt, and it's, all these metal doors, and nobody was in there. And so I go into the stall, and I kick the door open. I reach in my pocket, and I pull out this big bag, sandwich bag full of dope. And I got a quarter out of my pocket, and I'm sticking it down in the bag, and I get as much on it as you can get, And then I thought, somebody's watching. I'm busted. And I raise up right there in that bathroom, and I lean back, and it was me.
In the mirror?
In the mirror. And I thought, boy, you're a sorry son of a bitch if you stick that dope up your nose after being given the best gift you've ever been given in your life. All you've ever wanted to be was a dad because you never had one. And now you're in here snorting cocaine your life away. And I took that bag and I slung it up against the bathroom wall, the brick wall there, and dope whenever. You imagine 8 ball of cocaine.
Sure.
So I'm thinking, okay, what do I do now? There's blow everywhere in this bathroom. So I get down on my hands and knees and I put my hands in the toilet water and I'm throwing it up against the wall, you know, to try to get it out of there. And all of a sudden, man, while I was down there, I thought, well, while I'm down here, I may spend an extra minute or two, see if I can't get some peace.
Yeah.
And I said, God, I probably gonna need a little help with this one, you know, because I don't want to be that dad, you know, I don't want to be that dude. And I stood up after I said my prayer and I dropped that quarter, and I don't know the significance of this, Mike. I dropped that quarter on the floor, and it landed on its side, and it was going in a circle on its side, and I just kept watching, and the circles got smaller and smaller, and I'll never forget. I said to myself, when the quarter stops, so do I. And it stopped, and I picked it up and I put it in my wallet where it still sits today.
Really?
And that was as of September 11th this past year, 19 years ago, that I've been clean.
And you cut it out right there.
100%.
Good for you.
100. Never done it. And let me tell you, when I came here, it was, you know, it was, I had to be careful.
Especially when you see Joe, you're like,
I was going to ask him. I was going to ask him out in the yard a while ago.
Do you realize how many songs were in that bathroom? There was That's Me in the Mirror.
Yeah.
There was Watching the Quarter Spin. Yeah. And then there was a rock song called How Much Coke Can We Get on That Quarter?
And man, you know, I've tried to dedicate as much of my life to I told the good Lord, I said, man, if I make it through this, I have a platform. You know, we have these microphones, we have social media. And so I try to give as much time as I can to those that struggle with addiction. That's why I wear these shirts. You know, I'm addicted to empowering the addict, because you got to empower them to give them the tools to beat this thing, because the love of my child was stronger than the love for the dope.
Right.
But that's not the case in 95% of cases.
Sure,
I met a boy,
I
met a kid 25 years old that I said, man, how's your day going today? He said, not bad for facing life in prison.
Oh.
And I said, well, you want to talk about it? And he said, yeah, I'll tell you everything. He says, when I was 13, my mother threw me a birthday party. For my birthday party, I got a bike. There's a bicycle again. Wasn't purple, though. I got a bike, a birthday cake. My cousins came over, and I got a card. And when I opened up the card, it said, welcome to my world. And it was black tar heroin.
Oh.
And he began using it 13. He never had a chance.
No.
Never had a chance. He might not have been in that, you know. And I thought, okay, I'm a pretty good talker. What the hell do I say now? You know, and I just sat and most of those guys and girls just want somebody to talk to and love them. You know?
Yeah, and you know, I do a lot of stuff with teenage kids, and that's what I see. It's not even that they have bad parents; that it's a cycle. They have parents who are bad.
Charitable work. Don't say I do a lot of stuff with teenage kids.
I was fixing to ask. If I had my way, if I could, and I wish that I had the means to do it, I would fill up every venue that I do. You know, I'll never make it to the Burt level or the Nate level. I've had a great run. My life is good. I made it to the other side. I stay in my lane now. I don't compare what I may never have big ratings. I'm at peace with any of that. But what I wish I could do is fill up every venue with addicts that need to be catered to and work with and loved. Mainly because they're swept under the rug. And people, and this is what pisses me off, and I'm fixing to go on a soapbox and then you can cut me off or whatever. But they always say that's I got a guy at the DMV. I'm getting my license renewed, and he knows that I work over at a place the first part of the week at Lawrence County Recovery. He's like, all self-induced to begin with. Should have never started it. Never would have been a drug addict. I said, my dad smoked cigarettes from the time he was 5 till he got eat up with cancer. That's self-induced. What I do, kick him to the curb, never offer him any treatment or help? You know, my sister got skin cancer from getting in a tanning bed for 50 years. That's self-induced. But when it comes to drug addicts, man, it's like put them out in the woods, hide them somewhere, and hell with them.
See, the thing is that, and what I find is that certainly I can talk to a kid who had drug problems until he's blue in the face. But I didn't go through it. I never did drugs. I don't know it. When you get somebody who has, nothing's better than somebody who saved themselves to be able to tell other people that they can. And when these people see somebody who's, was there where they are, and they see that they got out of it, there's nothing better than somebody who's been
man,
there.
It's difficult. It's horrendous to beat, because and my wife, who's listening, I love her dearly. She's never really been affected that much in her family and so forth from addiction. But there was an example. We were going somewhere one day, and she's like, well, jump off this exit. I want to get a Diet Mountain Dew. And I said, well, let's go to the next exit. She said, no, I want to get one now. I went, there you go.
There it is. Yeah.
There it is. And addiction is anything that you want to quit and can't. I don't care if it's drugs, sex,
Starbucks. I'm talking to you.
Yeah, anything like that. But it's difficult. It's hard. There's and now there's no such thing as 5, 10, 15-year drug addicts. No such thing. You know why? Because you're either in prison or you're dead.
Yep.
I heard y'all talking about fentanyl earlier. I mean, when I did it, we never heard of fentanyl.
Right.
We just did as much blow as we could and pray to God you don't die.
Right.
It's real simple.
And now it's a lot more frequent.
Yeah, buddy.
Yeah.
Now,
if you have to test your drugs before you take them, that's a bad situation.
I tell you, if we're talking about funny now, I had been up 3 or 4 days. This was back in when I was using it my most in the 80s, if there's anything funny about addiction. But I had done every drug known to man that you could buy off the corner,
right.
Anywhere. I mean, meth, cocaine, Valium, weed, you name it. 3 or 4 days, we're all partying, drinking. In my head, I was about to blow off my shoulders. And I called my mom, and I'm like, Mom, man, I got to do something. This headache is about. And I said, you really think it's okay to take 4 Tylenol? Really? You think I mean, here I've done $20,000 worth of stuff made in a bathtub, and I'm worried about taking 4 Tylenol for a headache. Oh, I better hold on, maybe 3, not 4.
What country artist did you do the most coke with? No, I'm just kidding.
Oh, boy. Here, I will tell you this though, there is. In all the big tours that I was on, I was blessed to be on with Kix and Ronnie, 3 with Toby and Rascal Flatts and Brad Paisley, all those guys are. Very rarely did I ever see it.
Drugs,
it was just not as. I think the people that build the stages and the roadies and all that, I think they should get a free pass because they're work. My God, they work. It's just unbelievable.
I've seen most of those guys that I partied with in private and stuff is all alcohol. I mean, I'm sure every once in a while is
especially nowadays, man. I wouldn't even. I know it's still prevalent and it's out there, but I wouldn't know.
I'm so glad I never, because clearly I like to eat. I have an addictive personality. If I started doing it, but I never got into it, and I'm glad.
That's why I never got into. I don't weed. I don't want to eat more than I already eat.
That's what they told me. Like, you can take weed. I'm like, I'm already hungry now. I don't need the weed.
Snacks.
Cletus, it's great having you here. Tell everybody where you're going to be. You're going to be Side Splitters tonight?
Yep, Side Splitters in Tampa. And, you're talking about Bert and filling out those stadiums. I'm just trying to get 75 seats up there in the Side Splitters, so I hope people will come out, though.
This area is such a great comic audience, such appreciation for comedy. I saw people show up at the Sunshine Comedy Festival this week not knowing who they were going to see. They were just there for the comedy. Here's a guy who's been making great parody songs, doing good radio, being funny on stage for years, going to be in town tonight. 960-1197 or sidesplitterscomedy.com, where you can actually go and purchase your ticket and your seats.
I'll never get a chance to do this again, so I'm going to take 30 seconds and do it because I probably won't get a chance to do it again. But the people in this area, Tampa, St. Pete, where I lived on and off here, man, the listener, loved me through some really difficult time.
Yeah.
I mean, man, living here by myself, I didn't know a lot of people. And when I did good, they rewarded me. And when I did bad, they scolded me.
Mm-hmm.
But man, what a special place here, man, with these people. They're wonderful human beings.
It's like having 200,000 friends.
Man, it is. And to this day, I've been gone for many years from here, but I still get messages. Oh, we miss you on QYK. I can't even apply at QYK now. I hit lips up, and we were almost neighbors. There's a house right down the street.
Oh, really?
Rode by the big white house on the left with all the glass.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I had a contract on that, and then they said this was in '07, I think, and they said, yeah, they accepted my offer. They said, well, we need to do a credit check. And I'm like, oh, what do you mean 500? Hell, I'm double digit now.
Every time I drive past that house, I go, man, the coke they must have did in that house.
It was more glass. I bet it's 500 degrees in there right now with all
glass.
All glass. But I was good until the credit score popped up.
Yeah. So you would not, they would not have you over there to promote the show? Who's managing? They're not even the same people. Why wouldn't they? I don't understand that.
Lips, I love.
Lips.
Yeah.
I saw Lips with a beard the other day. I'm like, Lips, he's only 19.
How
does he have a beard?
Lips
Kids
is my producer over there. He was wonderful. Orlando, who I love like a brother, man. And I know you do as well. But Orlando said, you'll do better with 30 minutes at Calta's place than you'll do for 2 minutes.
Honestly, on his show there, it's for what you're doing. I don't, not against you. It's just a different audience.
Man, and I'll be honest with you, dude. I just shoot it to you straight. It hurts. It hurt a little bit because I'm nothing, but that was my home.
But I get that because when I got fired from my first job, I didn't like all of those people and I didn't want to see all of them, but they were the only friends that I had because I had been focused on just work for so long.
And I know some of them still aren't there. Of course, Galata's not, Anla, Don, Page, and all those, people are there. But man, that was just my home. I was there when we moved in that building. We put the big guitar, soundboard, and I sat behind that microphone and I talked, and Veronica and Dave and myself and Steve and then all of a sudden, you come to town just to try to revisit old friends and people that you hopefully made a difference in their life. That's why we do this. We're egotistical and we're asses, and that's what we do. But man, I wanted to just go over and say, hey,
right.
I don't. It bothered me.
Yeah,
it bothered me
that
a
stinks,
little bit.
man. So it's a downside of this job. It's weird. That's why I was like, you know what? When we got to this station, I was like, I'm not gonna. Because I came from another place. But I'm like, I'm not mad at anybody.
No,
I don't want to. I have no reason not to like a guy because he's on a different radio station. That's why everybody craps on MJ all the time. I don't care about MJ. He was a dick to me when I was a kid, but in the recent times I've seen him and hung around with him, he's been great to me. So what do I?
Well, if you remember when you were on the air, me and Orlando and Calata came to the station, was on the air with you.
Yes.
There's nobody in the world today that will let their employees or their jocks or their morning or afternoon guys go on another station in a competitive market, people meter market or whatever, and do radio.
Yeah.
But that to me just showed the confidence that we all have.
Yeah.
I'm not worried about, Bubba. I mean, he just ruined my life. I mean, I about had a nervous breakdown the last time I was here with him. I mean, it was insane.
It all comes around, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does. It does. And but I just wanted to for whatever that's worth to the people in this area that might have jumped over there on my station and listened. And I still call QYK my station, and it will always be. This is where I planted my roots at. Thanks for having me on, man.
Hey, I'm happy to see you, buddy, and catch up with you. Great stories today, and go see Cletus at Side Splitters. Just one night tonight. Just
tonight, and I'm heading back over and play golf with them idiots for 5 or 6, and then drive the long drive back to West Virginia.
Even after that flight you took to go see your daughter on the TV show, you were like, okay, I did this one, but I'm never doing it again.
I flew to Phoenix and rented a Hummer and drove back to L.A. Hell no, I wouldn't get back on the airplane, you idiot. No, it's not normal. It ain't normal up there. I love y'all, man. Thanks,
thank
Mike.
you, brother. We'll take a break. It's the Mike Calta Show. This is 102.5 The Bone.